Good evening, everyone. We're glad you stopped by. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Two Average Joes with your hosts from Lake Havasu, Arizona, Tony P., and from Long Beach, California, Joe Kelly. Sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee or maybe a beer, and let's chat for a little bit. Without further ado, Two Average Joes. There we go. How's it going, my friend? Nice, nice, nice. Hey, here's something for you to think about. When you think about a group of geese, you've got a gaggle. You think about a group of crows, you have a murder. What do you have if you have a group of flamingos? Never knew. It would be exactly close. It's called a fabulous. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. A flamboyance. A flamboyance. My sister is obsessed with pink flamingos. My little sister. So for her birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, I find anything like towels, holders, cards, anything that I can find with flamingos on it. She loves it.
She have them in the yard?
Well, she's got fake ones. She actually,
Yeah.
her husband is a world traveler, took her somewhere in a tropical island where she sat in this park and surrounded by real flamingos that would come up to you
Really?
and stuff. Yeah, so that was her.
So they're
Okay.
not like a goose, they can be aggressive. So
Well,
the
yeah.
flamingo's sort of mellow.
Well, I guess that, you give them enough food, they're like, hey, why right hand
Right.
that feeds us, so to speak, It's like I learned about squirrels the first time in Central Park in New York, and I went there and I'm sitting on the park bench and this guy's going, and this squirrel just walks up, he's handing him nuts. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. He says, yeah. He says, they're pretty tame here in the park. And so that's my call to squirrels ever since I heard that man do that, was that little whistle. And so squirrels will turn and look at me and I wonder what I'm saying. But I love.
Well, yeah, I think they do adapt. We have, we get the wild donkeys out here. They collect them up every now and then. But the wild ones, they're really skittish. Like they're not just, if they even see you, they're turning around and they're going in the complete opposite direction, right?
Really?
But there's a little tourist attraction not far from here, like an old western town, and they're so used to people buying the feed and giving them snacks that they meet you at the car, right? They're waiting for you. They're like tapping their watch. Yeah,
Exactly.
So yeah, they get what you take that natural survival skill out of. I think if you put those burrows back out in the wild, what would happen? Like they're just waiting for someone to feed.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because I'd love to have. Long Beach has numerous parrots. I mean, most of the beach towns you'll have hundreds of parrots, and there's a set of about 35 to 40 of them that fly around my house and such. And
Just wild?
yeah, yeah. It's funny. My daughter said, "Dad, have you heard the legend of the wild parrots?" I'm like, "No, honey. Tell me the legend of the wild parrots." And she's like, "Well, there was a pet store downtown that caught on fire, and all these birds got loose." I said, "Honey, here's a more realistic view. Parrots live to be 75 to 125 years. Somebody got tired of it and let it go. That's probably what really happened. Because these things will live a while. I mean, when we lived in Redondo with Larry Fox and all those guys down that clique of people, Redondo Union High School was right down there on PCH, and there were probably 500-600 of those things in the city. I mean, people complained to the city about them all the time because they squawk. They're noisy. But
I mean, are they messy? They're like pigeons too?
well, yeah. I mean, they're going to crap wherever they are. I mean, that's the reason I had a bird offered to me when I was about 17, almost 18 years old, and I declined because the bird was only 2 years old. It was an Amazon gray, and those things live to be about 75 years old. So that bird would still be alive today. I mean, if I had that bird, and they're messy, 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 and you got to get their wings clipped so they don't fly away and such. So it's a pain in the butt. I wouldn't get one, but there's the Long Beach parrots come around here, and I've got this kind of aviary in my backyard. I get hummingbirds all the time because I've got a feeder. I've had these finches that have had multiple generations of birds underneath our awnings right in front of our house, and my wife and I get to watch it happen. And the other day, it's like, well, actually about 3 weeks ago, I heard that sound, and it's the parrots. So I go back there, and there's probably 12 parrots on the line behind my house, and I looked up and I said, hello, hello, and about 5 of them turned their heads, they're looking down at me. So I'm sure my neighbors are going, shut up, don't encourage them. But I think it's kind of cool having all these birds around. Fun.
Like the Pirates of the Caribbean.
I feel like Dr. Doolittle, well, the squirrels. I'm talking to the squirrels when I go for a walk.
Keep one on I have something I want you to try. See if you're aware. Did you know that human body wise, you cannot physically tickle yourself? Never tried.
I never thought about that, but that's true. You think about it, you can't because it's not an unknown maybe it's that unknown proprioceptive action you're feeling, you're not used to it or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
because you would think the tickling would still be attached to something with your nerves, you know what I mean? Something that
yeah.
is makes it sensitive to you.
Mhm.
But yeah, that
A
is it.
fact that
And then this one's crazy while we're on the human body. If you totaled up all the blood vessels, arteries and whatnot, everything that carries blood in the body and stretched it lengthwise, connected it and stretched lengthwise, 60,000 miles.
wow. Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Is that
Pretty amazing.
unbelievable?
Yeah, it is pretty unbelievable. That's crazy. It rains diamonds on Jupiter and Saturn. The high pressure atmospheres crush the carbon into glittering showers of diamonds. So it actually rains diamonds in
No
these
kidding.
it's pretty damn cool.
uh, like literally, like if were able to send a rocket up there and collect them, we'd bring them back, and they would have the value, right?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, exactly. It's actually you're better off. It's more valuable to have a piece of a meteor fall into your backyard. It'll make you instantly rich. I mean, depending how big they are, scientists and schools will pay, 5, 6 figures for pieces of rock that have fallen from space so they can
No
learn all this stuff.
kidding.
Yeah, they're expensive. There was one town I remember where they got showered with meteors and somebody got hit by one that was bigger than a medicine ball. And it was worth like $175,000. Yeah, I bought this house
Right,
right here with what hit me. So it's like, all these people, yeah, paid off my debt, and I got this car. Messed up my car, but I got this nice car now. So it's kind of interesting
right.
that you
Well,
can make some
I
serious
know there
money.
was some that hit not long ago in Ohio, right? Didn't something make it through?
They hit all the time. They do. I mean, I've seen, and
Yeah,
as I've learned more about it. I was in Palm Springs one time and walking with my ex, Dee Dee, who and then with Justin when he was just a baby, pushing the cart along at night. And there's probably 30 different people in the park at this time of night, and it's nice and warm. And up in the
right,
sky, you see about 7 streaks of multicolored lights shoot across. And of course, immediately you think, that's something I've never seen before. That's got to be a UFO. But knowing now what I know, it's because of the spectrum of light we can see that's more into the blue spectrum. And that's why we see a blue sky, not a red sky. But
right.
but some of those colors, as they come through the atmosphere, become known to us. So they're just a bunch of meteors breaking up into the atmosphere is what they are.
Well, it's funny you mentioned blue because one of my other little tidbits for you were that if you were on Mars, the sunsets are in blue.
Wow, that's interesting.
So
I
I
did
wonder
not
if
know
that's
that.
just and can you and with your telescope, when you have a telescope, can we see Mars like with
Oh,
a
yeah, without a
layman's
doubt.
telescope?
Without a doubt. I've seen it many times. You can see it with the naked eye because if you stare long enough, different like the stars have different colors. If a star is white or blue, it's really bright. So that's the most of the stars that we see are these huge stars which are suns that are, millions of times bigger than our sun, and just completely powerful, where we have what's called a red dwarf, and it's kind of like an ember in the fire, nice and warm
No
and glowing.
kidding.
And something, if you look up in the sky, Orion is a very popular one, and it has at the top of it is a star called Betelgeuse, and it's about 500 some odd light years away from us, and it's red. If you stare at it long enough,
Right,
you can see it's red, and which means to us that it is a red dwarf, which means that it's in the process of dying. And when it dies, what's going to happen? When our sun dies in about 10 billion years, it's going to expand. I'll forego the chemistry about what happens in the middle and why it starts to expand. But when it gets to basically iron, in the periodic table, it just starts to expand. And what's going to happen is we are 996 million miles away from the sun right now. Well, when the sun cools enough to expand, it will expand its diameter. I mean, its radius will be greater than that. It'll be out there somewhere about where Mars is. So we'll be completely consumed. Everything will be gone. It'll be dead. I mean, it'll be crazy. But it's like these things happen in billions of years, so it's not something like, oh my gosh. So if you think about it, if Betelgeuse is, say, 530 light years away from us, that means it takes 530 years from if somebody took a picture and it flashed a light, it would take 530 years for that flash of light to reach us for us to perceive that.
right,
So the planet could have already, if it's 500 and say 60, 50, say 550, if it's 549 years, next year we might watch it blow up. We don't know because it's so far away. It could have already happened,
right.
but we haven't perceived it yet. I love
Right.
space. That's one of the cool things. It really
Crazy.
is. All right. So, what is your social media weakness?
I think there's times when maybe I comment on something and I just shouldn't. So like, why bother?
So,
And
does it get you caught up in the
you always
debates?
you end up with a bat. You know what I mean? It's just it's like I don't know. I think that's probably the only thing. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have just kept scrolling, and I normally do. It's not like I'm a total fucking Karen, but just once in a while, I'm like, no, no, I gotta say something. It's not too often, but that's about it. Otherwise, I enjoy it. It's really nice being able to stay in contact and see people, from through the years, people you worked with, and people from school and stuff. It's nice. Opportunity that we wouldn't have before.
Well, I'm my mind is going so much all the time that my weakness is our YouTube shorts. I mean, I might start watching shorts on musicians and watch all these,
Right.
stuff and just sit there. Okay, I've got, 20 minutes to kill. Just think about something about nothing, and I'll just watch YouTube shorts about cats or about dogs. I love those Malinois shepherds, those police dogs that are light brown and with their black snouts, and they're smarter than any dog you've ever seen in your life. I mean, they're aggressive. I love my wife says she goes, you never bring one of those home. I said, no, I'm too old to have one of those anyway. But I
Well,
love watching YouTube shorts. I should probably stop doing that as much as I do because you can get lost and just down a rabbit hole watching things and seeing all this, these flat earth thinkers and the Arctic ice wall. There's an Arctic ice wall and we're only on the outside of it. There's something inside they're not letting us see. I'm like, "Ah, okay, whatever."
I think it's like in many cases, someone would probably either be watching TV or something anyway, or whatever, to kill time. It's certainly more convenient because it's in your hand. But I think that it is, it's probably something that a lot of people overuse. I think it's something that we should be more guarded as far as young people, social media. There's a lot of stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm all for more parental controls and there's a lot of studies that come out that even say kids shouldn't even have that type of technology when they're young.
Right.
It does not assist in their development.
Well, the most valuable course I ever took, I probably said this before, was a research course. It was only one unit, but you had to learn how to use the library and its resources, and it blew my mind. And the one thing that was very, very upfront, it's like you do not accept just random opinions. If you read something to know that it's fact, you need to find three peer-reviewed sources that verify that same thing. Because what I think is very dangerous is when I read something that says .com, immediately I say, red flag. I'm probably going to doubt you because Wikipedia is a .com. So I'm going to research that before I say, hey, this is a fact I saw online. But most people see it online, they think it's fact, and they regurgitate it, and that's the biggest cancer that it has, is that I can say, you know what, I think so and so is a child molester. Say that loud enough
Right.
people hear it. It doesn't matter if he is, he's now labeled a child molester. So there's a lot of I don't like the way our world has become so polarized and so hateful in those kinds of thinking, in that
Now, do you
manner.
think AI will help that in some fashion? And whatever you put in, you're looking for a recipe, it doesn't matter what it is. The AI explanation comes up first. So
Right.
it's very easy to ask, hey, is there, jurisdictional proof that so and so is a child molester, for example? And then it normally was able to compute through like you said, not just checking three things. AI is probably checking thousands, right?
Right.
So the question is, does that become trustable? Because Wikipedia, isn't that where people, like you could sign on and put a fact in? Is
Oh
that how
yeah, you
Wikipedia
can.
works?
I don't know if they changed it. They must have put some safeguards, but at one time you could go in there and change something that's down there, and it would stay on there until somebody changed it back. So you can change facts, and what people read, they perceive as being completely factual. That's the problem I have with that kind of
Right.
thing. Is that I saw that online. It's got to be real. Well, it's usually if I'm reading news, I'll take a look at the American news, and of course it's polarized. And so then I go to BBC, which hates every American. So it's non-biased. It's like we hate all of you guys, so this is the way we're looking at you. So sometimes I get better news looking at BBC. But well, that leads me into a question I had because I had an answer for myself. But if you could bring back any tradition that seems to have faded into the past, what tradition would you bring back? This is the segue I'm going to use for what we just talked about.
Interesting. I can think of two.
Okay.
One, and I don't know if you would call them tradition. To me, they were things that were routinely happening in my youth, and young in years was that you got a couple hours at lunch or you got out early on election day to go vote. And also, it was pretty hard to find anything opened after noon on Good Friday. Now, certainly easily argued that, well, that's if you believe in that, you know, if you're a Christian and you believe that that's what Good Friday represents. So can't force it on anybody. But I think forcing someone to have a half a day off isn't going to be a pretty hard arm twist, right?
Well, I think to me,
I don't care if
honestly,
you're even if you're Muslim, you're going to be like, let me get this right. I get to leave at lunch and have the
because
rest of the day off.
because of that guy in the Quran, Jesus. Okay,
Right.
perfectly, we'll do that.
He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, let me grab my bag. Thanks.
It's like, yeah, Jesus. So, but well,
So
I think that it would be more if you were Catholic, it would be a big deal than the Christian. I mean, Christians we observe it, but it's Catholics have a big old ceremonies and everything. But yeah, so I mean, it is what it is.
so
So
I
I
guess
like
that's why it sticks because I was raised Catholic, even though I don't
right.
practice it now.
Now, one thing that I wish that would come back is bipartisanship. I mean, the thing is that I know that
Yep.
Tony, there are going to be subjects you and I disagree on, and I really don't care what you think about that. I care your feelings, but what you think about something is as unique to you as you are. So it's like I'm not going to. I'm the kind of person that's like, look, I'm going to take what you think, and I'm going to use it to mold what I think. I mean, whether it's for to help it or to hinder it or say, no, it's not going to be that way.
Right.
But I don't like the idea. And that really upset me. That's when I actually went off Facebook and Instagram. I'm not really on there that much. I'm on there now once in a while to talk about this, what we do, and just to, acknowledge people thanking me, giving me birthday
I saw
wishes.
a few posts about your birthday.
That's
That's
the,
how
see,
I found
I,
out. You didn't even tell me the week before.
well, I don't, I mean, especially at this birthday, I'm 65. And so that's not really a milestone. That's a benchmark. That's holy smokes. That's
Well,
old.
I'm sorry. My headphone broke up. All I heard was I finally get my medical.
I got great medical now. I really do. But what's also nice is that I've figured things out. I've got my diet dialed in. I've got
Right.
my exercise. I'm starting to do Tai Chi on a regular basis, and I absolutely love it. It's a good way to strengthen myself because I
Is
did
that
more.
decaffeinated or is it regular?
It's the decaffeinated kind. When I
Nice,
was a
nice.
kid, I did martial arts. I was in John Barrett's American Karate, so I did katas, which are forms. You have to do certain
Right,
fighting things, and that's all Tai Chi is. But it's about balance. One hand is down, one hand is up, because you have a yin and a yang. You have different pressures, you different movements. But I'm finding that it's moving myself because I can't have my operations on my shoulders for another
right.
5 years, which means I can't work out. So I'm trying to find something to exercise, and this is amazing. I'm really
So
enjoying
you're
it.
saying I have 5 years to even potentially kick your ass?
I work on it, man. It's like I
Probably
tell
still
people,
would, even with one arm behind your back, you'd still kick my ass.
yeah, but see, like I tell people, it's like now I run only when being chased. I used to run a lot, but it's like now I can run
Okay,
very,
so I have to ask you because I was always a Steven Seagal fan. I enjoyed his movies
yeah,
back
he's fun.
back, the years before like now the only thing he can really conquer is the buffet. But
Can't see his toes
is
when
he
he gets down.
legit? I
Well,
mean, you hear it's just like the internet, right? People say he is, and people say he is. Is he legit?
Well, here's the thing. Kempo, if you're looking at like say Kempo, I have friends of mine that are in Kempo. And if you would go to a real true Kempo interaction, nothing would happen because there's no offensive. It's all defensive. So the guys would just stand there and look at each other until they decided that it's over. So what he does to me is very staged because they know what's happening. Because here's the thing. If I twist your arm in a certain way and if I don't roll, you're going to break my arm in half. That's the way martial arts works. It's like it's designed. It's like I've gotten very prominent guys in different holes, and they're tapping out quickly because it doesn't
Right.
matter how inexperienced that I am compared to
Really?
you. If I know how to leverage your arm, you better tap her out. I'm going to break it because that's what we're just supposed to do. You keep working until you feel a tap. So, yeah, it's so well. I like this stuff
So
that
not legit.
I think that I think he's very entertaining, but I think that if he went up against somebody that really knew what they were doing, he'd get his ass kicked.
Okay, so Chuck Norris could beat his ass.
Well, Chuck Norris didn't do push-ups. He pushed the earth down. He was a beast, man.
Uh,
He was the man.
uh, what's the other blonde-haired guy that was a martial arts movie star? His name escapes me. Van Claude or Claude Van Damme or
He's real.
now he's legit, right?
He's real, man. He's real. And like Dolph Lundgren, who
That's what I
played,
was thinking of, but I only can
yeah.
remember him from the Rocky
Well,
movies
but
as a
yeah,
box.
he was a European kickboxing
No
champion.
shit.
He was a
Oh, he's a big
big.
motherfucker.
Oh yeah, and
Excuse my
he
language.
legitimately hurt Sly Stallone. I mean, he hurt him. He put him in the hospital when he hit him.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, there were some times that there were different things, like even the movie Creed, which is an offshoot, has the young Apollo Creed's son, and Rocky's training him. And if you
Yeah.
look up things online and YouTube, show real hit that this Michael somebody, I forgot what his name is, the black dude, the good handsome looking guy.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan. But he said they said Sly goes hit him for real, and you see him hit him, and it knocked him out, knocked him completely out. I mean, it's like you when you get hit by somebody who knows what they're doing. I don't care how bad you think you are. I mean, it's like when I was watching all these. One thing I
Wow.
enjoy watching, I like watching old when Mike Tyson was 17 to 19, and he was
Yeah, he was an
nails.
animal,
I
eh?
mean, those are the times I remember. I went to, for my birthday, went and see him fight. I think is one of the bigs or something like that. I forgot who it was, but it was like a 30-second fight. But those are the times that you watch that he just ate these people alive, no matter how these big monstrous guys. There was a guy, a street fighter in New York, a gang member, thought he could kick his ass, and he just
Hold on.
ate him for breakfast, and that's.
So you say people alive. Didn't he bite
He
the
did.
dude's
Evander
ear off?
Holyfield. Holyfield. He sure did. I saw that fight live. I'm like, going, did that just happen? Holy smokes. Yeah,
Oh
that's
man.
pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
How
So
did he not go to jail for that? It's a crime. If I walked up to you and bit your ear off, when I no, that's not
well,
jail
I think
time.
that, honestly, to me, there'd have to be some kind of codicil about I wasn't in my right mind. I've been punched so much that I couldn't think
Right,
straight. And so, I
right,
mean, yeah, it's
right.
pretty brutal. I mean, there were times I remember in not martial arts, but wrestling. My coach he's the kind of guy that would bite the head off a lizard, to prove a point. But he said, if a guy ever has a headlock on your head, bite him in the nuts. I'm like, I'm hoping I'm never get a headlock on my head because
Yeah.
I'm not really into that kind of thing. I was, that doesn't sound like something I like to option into. But
Uh, it's like it's like the two guys out camping and the buddy gets bit by a rattlesnake, right? So his leg's all swelling up, and his friend's like, "Oh, let me go get some help." He runs into town, talks to the doctor. The doctor's busy; he can't come out there. He goes. The only chance to save his life is you have to suck the poison out of the bite. So the guy runs back and he gets to his buddy. He's like, "Okay, where'd he bite you?" He goes, "He bit me on my dick." He goes, "Doctor said you're gonna
you're
die."
gonna die, baby. You're sorry, man. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Doc has bad news.
Exactly, exactly.
You're not going to need that water, are you? I might need it for the rest of the day.
That's funny.
Okay, buddy. I have a nice one here for you. Human bonds. You know I like those bonds. Human bonds. If you could sum up your life's philosophy in one word, what would it be and why?
To me, it almost jumps out at me. It's wisdom.
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 Wisdom's the word. Explain,
Wisdom is,
please.
to me, if I want to be known as wise before I die, I want to be able to have a good discernment about things, to weigh things properly and not make rash assumptions or conclusions, and not to jump to anything, to think things through to make sure I have the right to ponder and before I act, and to have people say, well, let's ask Kelly, because Kelly will have some good wisdom about that situation. And that's as I get older, I am more in that position. As my body has been less active to help out that way, my mind is still quite active. And so I do a lot of mentoring. There's a kid up there, and I think he keeps jumping around from North Carolina to Chicago. I think he's in Philadelphia now. But I've given him advice on a lot of different things. And although I'm not in those situations that he's in, I'm able to think about it. And even my mentor says, that's great advice. So I'm learning the right things. And so I think that it's important to not be thought of as foolish, but I think respect comes to those who are truly considered to be wise and not just smart or brainiac, because there's a certain amount of hubris that can accompany a great amount of success. Look at any successful actor that's gone to their head and they're bigger than life.
Well,
You know.
you could even there's even such a high degree of street smarts that can certainly be credited to wisdom.
Well, that adds to it as well. I
It
mean,
doesn't have to come from a book.
I think that that's a definitely aspect of it, and that's one thing that I have a lot of value of is I spend a lot of time in those kind of situations. I mean, I used to
Right.
make jokes about, dude, I've got friends that will mess you up for a six pack just so they can tell me about how fun it was. It's like
Right.
but I have no problem with either aspect, and that's what I've told even like my wife's son months ago, I think it was a couple years ago when tensions were high. He was commuting on the freeway in LA, and he got pissed off and had to get out of his car and deal with somebody. And I said, dude, I want to explain something to you. You're only 24 years old. And he said, and the last time you had a physical altercation with somebody was across the line of scrimmage. You guys were both wearing pads. You've never actually been in an altercation before. You have no idea what you're doing. You do not want to do that. It's important to know when you can get into something like that and when you give someone a moment of pause. I mean, there are guys that have presented themselves to me when I was a bouncer, and I looked at them, I thought, you know what? I'm going to wait for the police to show up because I don't care how
Right.
tough I am. There's always going to be somebody tougher than you. So,
Or with a gun, which
hey,
automatically makes them tougher than you.
John Barrett, my sensei, he taught me one thing because I was getting cocky. I was learning. We had this drill where you have a rope and you have to duck under the rope, and as you're coming under, you take a swipe across the ribs like with a hook. And so I was learning how to do that, and I kept coming up and not guarding my face, and he tapped my nose. He go, you need to put that guard up. And so I kept coming up like that, and he gave me a straight punch and flattened my nose. I mean, I'm lying there and I saw stars. I felt warmth. He broke my nose and had to take his gloves off and pop it back into place. And it was just
Lesson
hellish.
learned.
So I learned from that, and like a week later,
Yeah.
we're doing it
Yes,
again, and
yes, you did.
he went to do that same move, and I saw it coming, and I just leaned into it and gave an upper hook to the chin, and it dropped into his knee, and this is a fourth-degree black belt, and I'm like, motherfucker, I
Right.
hit this, and so stupid me hits him across the top of the head again,
Again? Oh
again.
shit! You didn't start running?
I didn't. So then I backed up, and he turned to look to me, and if you know what a spinning heel kick, I mean spinning heel kick is, he spun his head around and his heel was straight out and hit me in my side of my arm so hard that it left a round bruise there for probably 2 weeks. My arm dropped and I couldn't lift my arm. It was completely paralyzed. And I'm trying to
Oh,
fight with one arm, and I'm like, just hold on. And he says, no, no, we're not going to hold on. And he beat the crap out of me. And his point was, he's sitting there and he goes, told me to
not
take a
gonna
fighting.
hold on.
Well, it's like, so he says, I want you in a fighting stance. It puts me in a fighting stance.
Oh
And
shit!
as I go up to do a fighting stance, he reaches in his bag and points up, not pretty far away from me, and shoots me with a blank gun. And it makes you stop. He says, don't ever think you're so tough you can stop a bullet
Right,
because you need to learn humble. And that was the biggest thing I ever did because I used to just jump into things and it used to get me in trouble. I mean, most of the time
right.
I just didn't matter because I was redneck, but man, you can jump into things that can get you messed up badly. And I've done that stupidly.
Right.
Oh, that was a bad decision. We won't do that again.
Right, and you got your Braves banner right behind you.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I would say I'll answer the question. If I could sum it up in one word, it'd be character.
Ooh, that's a good
And
one.
character, it's just real simple. The world's gotten too greedy, too sticky, and I think the days of a handshake meant something, right?
Yes, sir.
Your word meant something, and so I think people that do what they say what they do, type of thing. And I've always been a firm believer of undercommit, over deliver. So I think just character is a big thing. You're wrong, you're wrong. You're right, you're right. You stand up for what you feel's right. So many things involved with character, manners, politeness, but more importantly, just being a trustworthy person.
Yeah, I agree
And I'm
100%.
not saying I've always lived by that, but it would certainly be the thing that I would think is most important.
And on a side note, on that fact, just because you are a character does not mean you have character.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Or I could be my favorite character. I'm Batman.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay.
What do you
Here,
got?
I got something for you here. Did you have a relationship with your grandparents growing up? Any one of them or all of them?
Yeah, yeah, no, fantastic, great relationship.
Yeah, tell me, but tell us about it.
Yeah, so my mother's parents lived in the same town, half a city away. Could ride your bike over if you were old enough. Bus took you to the pool. They lived right by the community pool.
Nice.
Grandparents had the peach tree in the back, the
Ooh.
tomatoes growing. It was always the tomato sandwich and BLTs and a hot turkey sandwich with fries and gravy.
Uh,
And you spend the night and you'd go downstairs. They'd go downstairs and we'd watch the Tigers game, and I'd always get ice cream. And yeah, my experience with my grandparents was top notch. And then my father's mother, I never met my other grandfather. He was deceased young in his 50s by we still haven't pinned it down. Like there's like five fucking stories in the family of what his despise was, but nonetheless, he was involved in some shit. Let's just put it that way.
Interesting.
And well, my grandmother was the old Greek grandmother, broken English, 4'11", and she'd live in California most of the time with her daughter, and then she'd come out to Michigan with the three boys and spend like 2 months at every house, right? And she'd cook and make the rice pudding, but if you got out of line, man, she had that wooden spoon.
Ooh.
And she wasn't afraid to use it. But the best part was she was the only one that could talk shit to my dad. Because normally at the dinner table, like in our day, my dad wasn't ultra pleasant in our younger years, right? So there was no talking at the dinner table. You ate and you ate in a specific order. Like you couldn't just like eat all the mashed potatoes. You had to eat some meat. You had to eat the vegetable. You had to like choreograph your fucking meal, and you had to time the milk, right? Couldn't get a second glass of milk unless you're having a second plate. It was just, I painted the picture, right?
Exactly.
But when my grandmother was there, she could yell at him in Greek, and everyone knew he was getting an ass chewing. Now, you could not publicly enjoy it, right? You had to ignore it, but you got to witness it, and it was like the greatest fucking thing ever, right?
Exactly.
Only
That's
one that
awesome.
could put him in his shoes. Hey, your mom, man, it's your mom. Just like these
Exactly.
football players, big guys, 350, 400 pounds, still fucking beat your ass.
Exactly, exactly. It's funny because my on my mother's side, my grandfather died, so I never met him. When my mother was a little girl, he died. But my great grandfather, I met him, and he carried a $20 bill in his pocket, and he says that's for anybody that can say the alphabet forward faster than I can say it backwards. And so that was this thing he would say. He whipped through the alphabet from Z to A faster than you can
Oh,
say from A to
no
Z.
way.
It was pretty cool. And he had the fig tree in the backyard, and he lived across the street from the park. So it was a great place to hang out. Now, my
Yeah,
grandmother and grandfather on my dad's side, that's a different story. My grandfather was a Mason. He was well connected. He knew everybody in town, so I couldn't get away with anything. But the thing was is that they had the most elaborate setups of country food available to you at all times. And you talked about watching Tiger games with your grandfather. My
yeah,
grandfather, he liked only two things: wrestling, which is the old, WW, it's like the fake
right.
wrestling, but he only liked that and Braves baseball. And so, but he didn't have a TV for the baseball. We sat on the front porch and listened to the games. And so I got into, and I still to this day, I've got 680 The Fan in Atlanta on my
Wow.
phone, and I listen to the ball games because I have a better time. And if I'm at the game, they can't sync it real well, but that's the best time to watch it. When I used to have XM radio, I'd listen to it at the Angel games, and I'd get immediate
Right.
sportscasting. So
Right.
it's all that filler. So yeah, I've
Well,
got great memories of my grandparents too. So
I want to wrap the grandparents thing up with if you look over I don't know if it's my right or left shoulder, but you'll see my grandfather.
yes, I do. See him with the red shirt on or the red jacket
Yep,
on. Yeah, yep.
yep, sitting there. Yep, and then if I turn, there's a picture of my grandma, Yaya.
Yeah, yeah. There you
Yaya,
go.
Yaya. Man, she could cook up a fucking storm.
Isn't that wonderful? My grandfather was the 33rd degree Mason, and I don't know what they call the women, children of the corn or something, some crazy
Right.
thing.
Servants.
Children of the corn. So crazy people. But no, I'm sorry, Grandma, but Nanny, I called her Nanny. But what
uh,
would happen is because she was like a sisterhood of this, and they took care of all the food and coffee and stuff. They would give her like a piece of cash as a bonus, a thank you at the end of the year.
right.
She took that money, went down and bought hams and turkeys and chickens and all kinds of fixings. And at Christmas time, she had that big long table that would sit like 15 people, 16 people, and she would deck it out with food, and they would open the front doors, and anybody that walked by, they'd invite them to come in. So that's what
Nice.
I just knew, the 4 layer German
Well,
chocolate cakes and stuff like that. Holy smokes, it was wonderful to
it's
be a
such a
boy.
different world, though.
It is, man. No, it's crazy. Now you're afraid to even talk to somebody. There was that comedian, Monaco or something, the Italian guy.
Yeah,
He
yeah, I
goes,
know what you're talking about.
back in the
Yes.
day, the bell would ring, and we all go,
Right,
"It's company," and now it's like, who the fuck is that at this time of the
right.
night? It's not, but it's true. We used to relish company. Now it's like,
Right. Remember, like, well, he said it in a joke. The whole family would run to the. It was like who could get to the door first to open it up, right?
and you got to open the Entenmann's when they got there. You got to have the
Right, right.
Entenmann's,
And they put on a pot of Sanka.
the Sanka. Oh, such wonderful
And then I think
memories.
he ended it with now someone knocks at the door and you're like dropping, you belly crawl to the fucking curtains.
That's exactly right. Don't answer the door. I used to have a
Oh,
roommate. I used to have a roommate. He was a temporary manager at Black Angus over in Torrance, and he was one of those business guys, but he was a little whack job. We had Jehovah's Witness showed up at our door one time, and he said, "Just a second." He went into the bathroom, came back butt ass naked, and started talking to him, and it was a good way to get rid of them. They went away real fast,
I was
but
gonna say, how long? How long did it take? 20
it
seconds?
was real quick. I was actually upstairs faster than they were. It's like, I'm out of here. I don't want anything part of this. Okay.
I want to throw a real quick one at you. Spider webs in ancient times were used as bandages.
Hmm.
Sort of makes sense, right? Like a gauze.
Yeah, I mean, if you
You'd
know
have to have
anything
a
about
lot of them.
brown and black widows, they have very elastic, very I mean, if you could gather enough fibers from them, you could encompass something. It would stay, a bandage would stay on because of that. So I can see where people would do that, but I'm not a fan of
Can you make me a
spiders.
scarf?
I mean, I definitely
No.
afraid of spiders. I hate spiders. I think I mentioned that in our last podcast. It's like I want spiders to all die. I mean, oh, spiders are good for you. They're good for you. They're not good for me. I mean, I could find some other things. Maybe there's pills I can take that are good for me. They can substitute for whatever good that spiders do for me. But I do not like spiders even in the least. I don't. One of those things. My wife is at snakes. I
Well,
showed her.
I'll
I
take
showed her.
another question, but first
Okay.
I want to run something by you. If you remember a few shows ago where we had the episode, or the whole show was titled "Boiled Peanuts." You were talking about boiled peanuts in the South, right?
Yes.
Did you know that technically peanuts aren't even a nut? They're legumes. What's a legume? Is that
Leg,
a bean?
a legume. Yeah. Legumes.
Legume.
Yeah.
You don't pronounce they're legumes.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a.
legume is a bean. Why don't the
Yeah.
fuck they? Why don't they just say bean?
It's
Why
the
do they got the?
shape. It's the shape of the bean, the way it's shaped. I mean, legume. It's a
It
French word.
is
So
right.
if you think about it, there are different beans that are classified in that legume classification. So I think that's why I didn't know that there was a legume, but it makes sense to me. I mean,
But when you boil, they don't get as soft as like a garbanzo or something, do
yes,
they?
they do. That's the whole
Oh,
point.
really? They
Yeah.
just mush.
They get mush, and that's the thing is that the shell gets soft, and the thing is you heavily salt it down, and so you've got this. And the best way is to do it warm, and most of the time, us rednecks will just do it right over the pot. We're all standing there as a family, just doing it right there. But you'll
Right.
take one, and the shell just kind of melts away, and you've got 2 or 3 pieces of peanut lying in this little nest, and then you just squeeze it, and it comes right up, and you bite it, and it's about the same consistency as a garbanzo bean. It's that, but it's
No
creamier.
kidding.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's one of the things I love the most. When I went down to Albany to visit my aunt, she said, "Do you want to go to Dawson, over to couple cities over, and get some boiled peanuts at the peanut patch?" It's like, yes. In fact, I took about 5 pound bag home with me on the airplane, and I froze
No
most of
kidding.
them. Yeah, they're the best. I love them. So, yes, I
You
do love them.
salt them after you boil them, or do you put it in
They're
the
usually
water?
salted when you boil them. They're salted at that time, so they come out heavily salted. I mean, it's the a true Southern person would be embarrassed about me saying this, but I buy some can that I find at Walmart that's the closest thing I can get, and I just warm it up in the microwave and eat it that way. So I mean, I've got a can in the cupboard covered right now of
Okay.
paint. Yeah, ready to go at any time. Okay, here's interesting because I can't think of it. What was the last movie you saw in the theaters?
Well, that's a good one. I would have to say I don't go to the theater much, and so this would have been probably 3 years ago, maybe four. It was a Tom Cruise movie, so it was either a Mission Impossible or the new Maverick. I want to say
Oh,
it was the new Maverick.
that would be a good one to see in the theaters.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I went to a theater, and it was the first time I'd been in the those nice seats that lean back,
Right,
studio
right.
the and man, I was so comfortable. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna fall asleep. But thank God it was a Tom Cruise movie, right? Because they start off pretty boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
and I woke back up. But yeah, I was super comfortable, kicked up at the feet, and I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, but I can't watch a movie like that because I literally, I mean, my daughter took me to see because my big thing when I was a kid was Winnie the Pooh. So the movie Christopher Robin, my daughter had to take me to see it. Well, I think I slept through most of it because we were in those chairs. I'm kicking back and oh man, it's just so wonderful. And I slept most of the time. And she knows that's her dad sleeps in the movie theaters, so it's she didn't bother me about it. But yeah, I don't like that. I don't like those. I don't even like going to
Really?
theaters anymore because it's too damn comfortable. And if I like to be able to stop it, get up and make a cup of coffee and or make some ice cream or something like that. I don't like going to the theaters much. So I think the last one I went and saw was it was probably something like that or one of those movies, but I don't really go to the theaters much anymore myself.
Yeah, I just don't go that often. I mean, I barely even watch movies at home. So, but okay, pal. I got one last one for you, and then you can sign us off.
Okay.
Again, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Western States Restaurant Consulting, where your vision becomes our success. Thank you, Western States. Do you believe in the power of meditation for mental well-being? Now, I don't meditate, so I wouldn't even know. Like if you had asked me this, it's a no answer. But I have a feeling in some form you've meditated or meditate currently. So why? And do you notice a difference?
Well, I tried classical meditation at one time, and that there's you have to be able to figure out a way to keep your mind empty, and that's hard to do. And I mean, I won't go into how I did it, but I was able to do it really well. I mean, I'm one of those guys that when I used to run long distances, when I had pain, and mostly every time you run, there's something that hurts. Very rarely does you have those days where everything's just working great and the machinery is wonderful. But
Right,
that pain, I have this cloud that I have created, and if you imagine that I'm running or doing anything and I'm hurting, this pain, all of a sudden I feel it move from my body to right up here in this cloud, and then I take this all those feelings of pain and I move them away from myself. And it took me years of kind of a meditative way to do that, but I'm able to manage my pain very. I mean, I have chronic pain, and the only time it hurts is when I, like right now when I'm talking about it, I can feel the pain in my body, but
right,
you learn to manage it. So I've learned to be able to take those pains away. I mean, I've given myself 2 stitches before by myself without anesthesia. So you have to learn how to
man.
really. I don't recommend that to anybody. I'll never do it again, but it was necessary at the time where I was when it happened. But it's like you just I'm when they I've had 3 operations on my hands for trigger finger, and the first guy I went to, he was telling me the procedure. I'm signing paperwork, and there was one for anesthesiologist. I said, I don't want to get an anesthesiologist. He goes, well, I have to put you under. I said, no, you don't. He goes, yes, I do. If I'm going to operate on you, I said, let me explain something to you. If I put my hand through a window, I would cut it and I would feel that pain. I would come down here, you would anesthetize it, and you would stitch it up. All you're doing now is anesthetizing it and cutting it open, so I'm not feeling the pain of the initial cut. Why would you want me to pay you $750 to do that? Well, I finally
Right,
went to a guy who said he would do it no problem.
right.
So
And I don't have to replace the glass.
now they wouldn't let me watch, but I mean my head, I think 110 over 111 over 70 was my blood pressure when they did that, and I was awake. I
They
don't have a
would put like a
problem with
little
that stuff.
sheet up,
Yeah, they wouldn't let me
a little
watch because
curtain.
they thought I would jump, but I really wanted to
Fuck, who
watch
would
them.
want to? Jesus, are
I
you
would.
serious? Would you watch? Oh
Yeah, I
my God.
would. I watched them operate on my.
Turns my stomach.
Well, my mom was, when I was a kid, she was a scrub nurse at Emory University in Georgia, Atlanta, and I got to sit up in the balcony and watch an open heart surgery, and I was just a
Really?
kid. It was
Oh my
pretty cool.
gosh.
So yeah, I have no problem with that. I've witnessed things like that. I mean, I've got a stomach for it. You have to build up a tolerance for it, you know. My wife, she sold logistics systems with Pitney Bowes, copying systems and the whole computerized systems, and she went from that to selling implants, dental implants. And so we were sitting in Vegas when she was looking at what she was going to change jobs, and she's like, "Oh crap, I'm gonna have to start watching YouTube videos of like operations that used to acclimated to seeing blood and that kind of
Yeah.
scene." So now she's pretty acclimated to it, but you have to get used to watching somebody cut open, pull teeth out of somebody's mouth and stuff like that. It can be pretty gruesome, but
We have ways to make you talk.
oh, was that marathon? Is it safe? Is it safe?
Is it Marathon Man? Was that what was
Marathon
it?
Man. It was with I forgot his name.
Not Arnold Schwarzenegger. No,
No,
before him.
oh yeah, it was
Dustin
Dustin
Hoffman?
Hoffman was the running man,
Yeah.
but it was the German guy. It was like some famous actor. I forgot who he was, but
Oh yeah, I don't know who
he
it was.
kept
I just
asking.
remember that line. We
But
have
see, the thing
ways
is,
to make you talk.
when he said, "Is it safe?" and he pulled his tooth out, that you'd have whatever you want from me. I am so afraid of dentists. I would give up my sister instead of having my teeth messed with. That's not fun for me. I do not like that. It's not fun.
Well, one last thing, because that was on my list. Teeth are the only part of the human body that cannot repair itself.
Wow, didn't know that.
Downhill road with teeth.
Well, I know because I should have taken better care of them, but I was afraid of dentists when I was a kid. They always lied to me. They said it wouldn't hurt, and it always did. So it's,
Yeah, right. You're gonna feel a little pressure, right?
but I have a very sensitive mouth. But other than that, hey, we're glad you guys could hang out with us, and we hope you guys all have a wonderful week. Tony, it's good seeing you, buddy. You take care of yourself.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. Happy 250th. Let's head down to the presidential palace and enjoy a little kickback on the White House lawn, shall we?
You be safe.
Take care, buddy.